I was flipping through, what do you call that thing, YouTube earlier this week, and I saw this absolutely beautiful video that I just had to share with you. Not the video, but the story behind the video. And I kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier. It was a Garth Brooks concert. It was the concert that he did in Minneapolis. He sold 80,000 tickets, I think it was. No, it was more than that, 180,000 tickets. Anyway, he had to do many shows. So much so that to fit into his touring schedule, he was doing 2 shows a night. And that, which is absolutely incredible, because the show that he does is, I'm surprised he had the energy to do it. But anyway, he was doing that, and on this one show, is one of the last shows of that series. I think it was like the last song of the night. He closed with the dance, and the song is absolutely beautiful. I love it. We should play it in here every Sunday. But it's a beautiful song. But for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's talking about not looking back with regrets, because everything that once happened has led to where you are now, and where you are now is where miracles happen. It's where great things happen. It's where all of those things from the past have built you into who you are. And it's just a beautiful song, and then I'm sure I'm missing some of it and forgetting to say part of it. But anyway, he was singing this song, and a lady was standing there. She had this sign that that meant enough that the ushers that were in the back of the audience, the stadium, said, "You come through, we're going to get you to the front of the stage." And so they led her all the way down to the front of the stage. She's holding her sign up. Garth is up there playing, the band's playing, and the people who were running the cameras and filming all of this spotted this. And they closed in. They did a close-up of this lady holding her sign, and the crowd went nuts. Garth Brooks doesn't have a clue why they're going nuts at this point. It sounded like the end of a song, and it was in the middle of the song. He's kind of like, what's going on here? But he kept going. The showman that he was, he didn't slow down. And the cameras came back to her a second time, and about the time they came back to her a second time, Garth Brooks spots her, and he starts walking across the stage to where she is. This sign, and I don't want to miss a word of it, so I'm going to read it. It was very simple. I should be able to remember it all. The sign said, "Chemo this morning, Garth tonight, enjoying the dance." And he drops his legs over the side of the stage. He's sitting down on the stage, and he embraces her so big, and he sings to her. He's just singing directly to her. They're this close, and he's singing, and he trades his guitar. Now this is guitar, folks. I'm a guitar fan, and this guitar is mega expensive. I'm talking in the probably close to $3,500 to $5,000 range, somewhere in there. He gives her that and takes her sign. He said, "We're trading." And so she gets to walk away with that sign. He stands up on the stage, and you would think that would be enough. But he stands up on the stage, and he can't. He just briefly looks at that sign again. And he looks up, and it's like I'm talking to God right now, folks. And our belief is that God is here. Some people's belief God is out there somewhere. I don't know where he's somewhere in between, I'm sure, but he's talking to God, and he's praising God, and he is grateful. And he looks back at the lady, and he says, "You have all of my strength." And he looked around the audience and pointed to these 60 to 80,000 people, however many people are in this room. He said, "And you have all of these people's strengths." And I'm going to change the verbiage here, but he said, "You're going to kick cancer's butt." Now, how much energy, how much healing energy did that woman just receive? He took her to new levels just because he acknowledged her. She was such a fan. He took her to new levels because he shared energy. He took her to new levels because, and I forgot the part where he talked about God, because I said this earlier, he talked about God writing, "I exist." And that's when he held up the sign. He said, "This is God saying I exist." But anyway, he shared God with her. Don't know what her beliefs were before, but he empowered a belief in God with this beautiful woman. And then he shared the healing energy of all of those people. Now, I think I've talked about it before, but I'll share it again. I do an activity with my team building groups that talk about just how much power a group of people can send. And I ask somebody to come up to the front of the room and face away from the audience, and I have a flip chart that they can't see, and I write, "You are weak and worthless" on there, but this person doesn't see that. All right, "You are weak and worthless," and I say, "Audience, believe that this is this person's truth. Don't say anything, just believe this is what's true about them." And I have had college level football players do this program with me where I thought that I was going to fail. But what I do is I have that person hold their arms out and resist me with everything they've got, and then I pull down on their dominant arm. Well, when people are believing you are weak and worthless, even this gigantic lineman for the TCU football team, with one hand I was able to take his arm completely to the side of his body with no effort whatsoever. And I have them erase that. Okay, erase that belief. Take that, just stop thinking that, and I write, "You are powerful and worthy." And I do the same thing, and I tell them I'm going to do the same thing again. And this time, even the smallest person, I cannot get their arm to go down. It has never failed. I've been doing it for 20 years, close to 20 years now. Never once has it failed. Imagine the power going to that woman when Garth Brooks says, "We are sharing all of our power with you, all of our strength with you." Now that was touching enough. I was sitting there about to get in tears because it was so moving. And I don't ever stop with the one video. If you look on the side, you'll see more videos that have something to do with this. And I found an interview with Garth Brooks on the Today Show or one of the morning shows where he was talking about this. And you would think that Garth was giving all of the strength and the power. You would think that that lady was the only one receiving something here. Garth was saying that night they were starting to whine because they were having to do so much work. They were playing 2 shows a night. The drummer's hands the skin was peeling off because he was playing so much. He was trying to find gloves to use because his hands were hurting so bad. The guitarist's fingers were bleeding because they had been playing so much. Their bodies were worn out. Whoa! Their bodies were just worn out because they've been working so hard. There's a lot of energy in these shows, a lot of running around, and so he said, "We've been whining. We were whining as we were going out on stage to do this show, and then here comes this lady and holds this up." And he said, "Never again will I whine. This lady gave me so much. This thing was so impactful for me." And now, Garth's mother and sister both died of breast cancer, which is what this lady ended up having. Well, what this video didn't show, before I'm getting ahead of myself again. Anyway, Garth is sitting there doing this deal, talking about whining and how much this lady meant to him and all this, and they bring the lady out. They had flown her into wherever the show was being filmed. They brought her out so they could reunite, and she brought the guitar with them, and then Garth played a song for her on the guitar, and I believe he played the dance for her. But what they didn't tell you on the original video was this lady had chemo that morning. She went to Garth that night. Well, what they didn't tell you was her chemo was in Des Moines, Iowa, and the show was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So it wasn't that she just went around the corner. She drove or flew or whatever. So she traveled to something that was very important to her, and she received a great gift. And what this tells me is believe that you can make something happen, and no matter what jumps up, no matter what stands up in front of you, if you choose, you have the power to get through it. If you choose, you have the power to go around it, or whatever it takes. You can accomplish your goals, your intentions, your resolutions, no matter what. Now, that was a long way to go to get to what I was going to talk about today. So we're not going to talk too long. But the goals, intentions, and resolutions that we set for ourselves, we let go of so easily sometimes. of people, this is the 3rd of January, well, by the end of this week, something like 25% of people will have given up on the goals that they set for this new year. By the end of February, 70% of the people who set goals, resolutions, or intentions will have given up or just stopped working on them. So what causes us to do that? There are 3 things that really stand out for me that cause us to just let go and just give up on things. One of them, which I don't think, nobody in this room did, I don't think. One of them is a lot of people wait till New Year's Eve and wait till that alcohol gets to going, and then they set all kinds of really great intentions or resolutions. That's never, even if alcohol is not involved, just setting goals and intentions. You know, these are things that you want 2016 to look like. You want to shape 2016, and you're going to wait till 11:30 on New Year's Eve to set them. You know, stop, take time, look at them, and definitely, if you're going to drink on New Year's Eve, great. Set your intentions before. You know, don't let alcohol-induced intentions happen. You usually will get in over your head. The next thing that happens is we do things the same way we've always done them. You know, last year, for instance, we might have set goals to lose weight. And then we go about, some of us go about joining a gym, and then we go for 3 weeks, and then we never go again. And then the next year, we set a goal to lose weight. Well, this time I'm really going to follow through. And we go to a gym, and 3 weeks later we stop. You know, it's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. We, you know, oftentimes fall into that, especially when there's a year between times, because we forget. You know, we forget what we did last year, but we still do the same thing because that's a pattern. That is the true definition of insanity, by the way. Doing something the same way over and over and over again, expecting different results. So don't fall into insanity. And then the third way is expecting something out of your outcome without doing something about it. For instance, if I set a goal, I expect to lose weight. You know, because there's the thought process that if you believe it, you're going to achieve it. Well, if you believe it and take a step, you'll achieve it. We oftentimes forget the step part. And the step part is maybe just doing something differently. It's not, I'm going to set a goal to achieve less weight. And then the step is go to the gym. That doesn't necessarily have to be. You know, my step may be changing a diet. It may be changing my exercise routine. It may be changing my sleep patterns. It may be, there are so many things that go into weight loss and gain. It can be anything. So we just have to tune in to what it is that we expect versus what we're willing to do to get it. The great thing about all of this is that we are expressions of God. We have that power behind us. And when we use that power from the beginning, we will achieve whatever we set our minds to. And what I'm talking about from the beginning is when we sit down to set our goals, we need to go into silence. And we are served, might be a better way, instead of we are served when we go into silence because we connect with God. We look at how things resonate between what we want in God's desire, what we want in our desire, what we want in our expression. I'm going to use Gloria's example of $1 million, and not how you're going about it, but just the fact that that's one of your goals. I remember you saying it many times. If I were to want $1 million and then I never do anything about it, maybe it'll come to me. Maybe just the fact that I want it and know it to be true, it will come around. However, if I know it to be true, if that's my expectation and I take a step in that direction, what can I do that serves that dream, that goal, that purpose? my chances increase. If my goal is to have $1 million in the bank and I go buy a condo in Miami that I will only be able to see once a year, is that serving my goal of having $1 million? Probably not. It could be, because if I go down there often, then I'm living like a millionaire, and that starts building up the power and the strength behind that. But the key here is, no matter what we do, if we check in with highest good, if we look at how God fits into all of this, we can reach any goal we set. My goal for this year, and I'm going to tweak this and play with this, and I'm going to add to it, but my goal for this year is, the umbrella is that all I do serves God, all I do serves my highest good, all I do serves your highest good. Now I will define that. I'm going to add some things to it. As most of you know, I've been dealing with shingles, and the pain has been pretty intense, and it's been very difficult. I've found that pain can pull you out of oneness with God, at least the knowing. That pain can pull your awareness to a place that all you see is pain. And I chose not to set any intentions before the new year because I was dealing with that. I knew that I was getting pulled out, and I didn't want to. I chose not to go into that process at that moment. But I do know that the one overall umbrella intention that I have for this year is serving highest good. And from that, all kinds of wonderful things are going to come. So I challenge you too to set that same goal for yourself. Everything you do serves highest good. I could be going to the market. How can you serve highest good when you go to the market? It can be mowing the yard. How can you serve highest good? Billy has it great. She sits out there and sings and praises God. She has a good time out there on that mower. But in everything we do, we can choose to serve highest good, or we can choose to not. We can allow God's light to illuminate where we're going and what we're doing, or not. God is there always. It's just a matter of, do we see it? Do we accept it? Do we tune in? Do we understand? Do we allow it to light us and light our path? So that's your challenge for this year. In all of your intentions, resolutions, and goals, serve highest good and see God working in those intentions, resolutions, and goals. Let's end with some prayer. Father God, thank you so much for this beautiful day. We ask that you do make your presence known. Allow us to be aware of your presence in all that we do. Allow every path we take to be illuminated with your love, your protection, your understanding, your knowing. We know that you are within everything we do, and we ask that you allow us to be aware of that always. Never let us feel that there is an absence of God, because the truth is there is never an absence of God. Allow us to stay tuned in and be illuminated with the light of your love. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. Amen.